Aloha, my dear friends, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Embodied Healing Self. I'm here today with a beautiful and radiant human being, Desiree Dennis, whom I met 4.5 years ago, if you can believe that.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I know. I just did that math really quick. But yeah, 4.5 years ago, had a session with you in person actually as you were traveling, and was so fortunate to have had that in person session with you. And since then, have continued to have experiences with you when I see your face and I feel called to around spirit guidance healing, which is the name of your healing center, I believe, and your website. And 3 years ago, when my brother-in-law was in transition from this life, you were just a huge supportive role in that, which we were so grateful for. And even since then, you've developed a relationship with my mother-in-law and even visited Kauai and stayed with her.
I have, and that has been such an amazing, beautiful experience to be with her. Yeah, she's an incredible being.
She is an amazing healer, and oh, I'm so grateful just to be in her life. So that whole connection that was just coming through to me as I was introducing you, like, oh my gosh, this actually goes a lot deeper than, just that experience. Yeah. So I just love to share how those synchronicities come up. Well, it's like just feeling overwhelmed with gratitude right now that our initial experience has gone so much further and beyond just you and I together, and has helped heal the depth of my extended family. So excited to share you today, Desiree.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me, Jen.
Yes, absolutely. I'm really excited. So Desiree is a spirit medium. She is able to hear and communicate messages that she receives from spirit guides, master teachers, and loved ones who have passed on the other side. She has had this gift she remembers since childhood. She has received spiritual training from numerous world-renowned experts. I'm not going to read the list of all of them because there's quite a few, but you've actually just traveled around the country and even the world. You've been to Stonehenge, England, studying Reiki and intuitive guidance and mediumship and spiritual guidance with many master teachers and shamanism. So if you want to find more out about that, I'm going to put those links in the show notes because you've really been committed to this practice of learning many different modalities, shamanic Reiki healing, shape-shifting into higher consciousness, advanced shapeshifter practitioner, and all kinds of super cool stuff. Yeah, so I'm really excited to share with you. And I just want to say, before we get into our conversation, that you just had your 26th birthday. Is that right? 20?
Yes, I just
20. Okay. So that means that when I met you, you must have been you were about 22 and a half or 20. Yeah. So Desiree, some of you are listening to the podcast, some of you are watching on YouTube, but she is a person who, in every time I have a session with her, just holds a space of complete unconditional love. And I say that with like the deepest part of my heart. Every session I've ever had with her, it is one of pure joy. It's innocence. It's unconditional love. It's a very safe space that you create. And yet there's this other part that you have this sweet, innocent love and light that comes through, but then you were 22 years old, and it's like your wisdom is so much further and beyond this lifetime that it's just really humbling to be in the space with you and just witness that. So I just wanted to sort of say, for those of you who are looking on video, it's quite amazing to have both of those together in one human presence. So super excited to share you today.
You're gonna make me cry before we even start, Jen.
Oh.
Thank you. I'm really allowing those words in, and those are so much the intentions that I hope to bring into my work. So I'm so glad that that's been your experience. And I also want to say that I have so enjoyed our sessions together because I felt that they are particularly collaborative, that it's almost like the wisdom that the spirits give propels you into wisdom that you feel in yourself, which propels the spirits into further wisdom. And so it creates this really amazing upward effect of us
Yes.
just going up and up together. So I feel like every single time that I've had the privilege of connecting with your spiritual team, I feel that that I've also learned something from what they've brought through and what you've brought through. So
Yeah. And I love that thank you. I love that you said that because it's such a wonderful place to start, because it really opens up the gateway to just creating this vision that all of our experiences are so much bigger than our own individual experience. And as healers, or we still have people that are supporting us. And when we work with other people and we're holding that space for their healing, I say this to the listeners just to invite them to see the bigger picture, that when we commit to doing this and allowing ourselves to be supported in a space, that it goes so much further and so much more beyond even just this life experience. And when I started out, as I was introducing you, I started thinking about, now you go and stay with my mother-in-law in Kauai, and you have this community. Now there's this community on the island of Kauai that gets to share the space with you. And that all happened because you and I had a session together. And how much, and the people that are listening on this show, like maybe there's somebody here that is going to feel called to, or feel something that maybe this is something they're looking for. And so I love that you share that, because it's so true. Anytime that we're in session together, anybody's in session together, there is really like magical stuff happening. Like so much more than just the conversation. It is, it's like exponential. I think of like energy grids and how they just keep expanding, and it's really just beautiful. So thank you for saying that. Because and not just our sessions, but sessions that you have with other people, or I have with other people.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So one of my intentions for today in bringing you on the show is, you've been a part of my life for now 4.5 years, that whenever, I see your face, I hear like I'm being called to just set up a session with you. And whenever I do have a session with you, it's there's things that come out of it where I deepen my own trust in my own intuition and spiritual guidance, which is wonderful. So there's that part of it where I continue to learn and grow in my own energy. And then there's this energetic sort of like opening to expansion in my life, where it's like we kind of stuff comes up, and then it's almost like it's a portal to an expansion in my life. So it's like things are shifting on the outside of my life, and things are shifting internally for me. And I know that, when I had my first session with you, I'm saying this to relate to the listeners, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know. And actually our first session was in person.
Yes.
And so I just kind of allowed myself to just be in the space and be guided. And because you did such a wonderful job of creating like this sacred, safe space of unconditional love, that was what I felt. I felt like I could trust and just surrender to whatever was going to come up for us. And I really feel like this is one of your magical gifts that you bring, is that, in all of my experiences with you, you've always just created this space of unconditional love. So I'm saying that like without condition. And so when I'm in the space with you, there is this, it's very easy to trust and surrender. And I say this to the listeners because if you if you have some discernment or doubt or uncertainty, I think that's totally normal. If this isn't something that you've practiced or if this is new to you. And it's important to find somebody that makes you feel held and safe. And so I want to ask you, like, what are some of the ways that, or what do you do to prepare for your session? And what are some of the practices that you have to create that sacred space?
Okay. So it's very interesting. I was actually writing about this just this morning. So it's interesting that that's your first question. So I would say that being a spirit medium is really a way of life. And so I would say that nearly all of the choices that I make in my life are centered around the fact that I do this work. I really am, I would say that first, I'm very, very aware of how I take care of my physical body by really bringing in food that feels like it's nourishing to me as much as possible. And also by working with my energy. I am very aware of my own chakras, and if I notice that it feels like something needs a little bit of strengthening, if there's something coming up in one of my chakras that feels like it needs to be held, that it needs healing, I will be sure to pay attention to those things as they come up in my life. So that's why I'm emphasizing that it's a continual process. Many people ask me why am I so happy all the time? and the answer is that I'm not truly like perpetually happy all the time. It's just that when difficulties arise, when different emotions arise, I really take the time with them to let them process through in the best way that I can. So I would say taking care of my physical self, taking care of my energetic self, and taking care of my mind. All aspects of my being are incorporated in my daily life. And then also, just before I connect with spirit, I always go through a 4-step process to prepare for the experience, which involves first is clearing, then grounding, then opening, then setting an intention. So I take myself through those 4 steps as like a final preparation for connecting with spirit.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that 4-step process too. I was just thinking about, I kind of do that too. I kind of did that before the podcast. We cleared through conversation, and then we grounded in the meditation to the earth, and then we opened, and then we did an intention. So
you really did do that.
I know. I'm going to take a moment to celebrate myself for that. So there is that wisdom that comes through, and I didn't have words for it, but as you said that, I was like, oh, that sounds really good. I think I do that too. And that 4-step process is actually really wonderful and can be used in all life experiences. Like, I'm thinking of some of the executive women that I work with before going into a meeting, right? Or just being, or some of the women that I work with just going into their high stress job or situation, or even a parent going into a parent teacher conference. I don't know.
Yes.
But that simple 4-step process is really wonderful. So thanks for sharing that. And thank you for also sharing the importance of taking care of the physical body and the energetic body and doing your self-work through the emotional stuff that comes up for you. Because I know I get the same thing. People say, well, I don't know that I come across as happy as you do, but people they get this kind of idea that you can do this and I can't, and you make things look so easy. And oh no, sister, like I have been in the dark night of the soul more than once, and just trying to take that breath of fresh air, like feeling like I'm drowning. I mean, I've been there probably way more times than the average person because I've been willing to do it. And it's what allows us to hold that space for other people. Yes. And so I really hear you saying that's what the embodied healing self is. It's like nurturing this human container, which is this vessel, this body holds this life experience. It's our only connection to this life experience that our soul comes into, that we embody, right? So I happen to learn a different way. I happen to start through the physical body and through really just increasing my vibration by losing my health and then eating healthy and then nourishing the body and then doing the emotional work. And then as I did all that work, then it's like working from the bottom, the root chakra up, then it opened up my connection to source. So and it is a way of life. It is a way of being, as I hear you say that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's a practice.
Yes. And I'm very fortunate that I received a very solid foundation in all of this from my mom.
Yes. And you work with your mom.
And I work with my mom. So she taught me from a very young age about many different aspects of spirituality, and our kind of guiding principle in our family was to really learn as much as you can and to take what resonates with you. And so because of that, that's, I think, part of the reason why I have had the chance to study so many different things, and so much of that I have done with my mom. So her and I, yes, we do work together. She also does readings. She does life coaching. She does past life regression. She connects with people's spirit animals, which has been an amazing process to watch her begin offering this for other people, which she's begun doing in the last year. And so, yes, I feel that I think I'm bringing her up here because you were asking about my preparation, and I think that is assisted. My way of life in doing this is assisted by the fact that we're having this way of life together. And that I had that really solid foundation from her. And also one of the main things that I think she really lives by and that she taught me is that unconditional love that you talked about. My mom is somebody who has, she's somebody that, no, I'm gonna cry again.
Go for it.
That she like could be with any person and see, no matter what they've done, and just love them for who they are. And so I think I've really tried to live my life that way too.
Yeah.
She's a very powerfully compassionate person.
Yeah.
And I love to see that, with your daughters, that you are so much, I've just gotten this really strong sense that you are also giving them that foundation of learning to listen to themselves and trust themselves. And so I feel that they're going to have a really remarkable life because of that.
Thank you for saying that. I am receiving that, all of that. I'm taking that in. My children are a very large presence in my energetic being. And I haven't met your mom in person, but as I look at her pictures, like you can feel her energy, like as you see the pictures, right? And then just, I think who you are as a person, like that is what I know. It says a lot about how your mother was raised raised you and what she allowed for you. And I think has to do with how you were able to step into this really at such a young age and just,
absolutely.
Yeah. So I think it's really wonderful. And I love that you do similar work, but you have your different little kind of niches. And I love that she's doing spirit animal readings. I've really been hearing and connecting with a lot of animal intuitives lately. And we welcomed our own puppy into our life about 18 months ago. We've had many dogs. This one is particularly special. And they are our healers. So they need support too. And, they are here to teach us so much. And because they can't communicate verbally like children can, it almost teaches us that kind of deeper layer of presence. Because if you really want to, kind of understand your pet's energy, like you have to choose to pay attention to other things because they can't talk. So I think that's wonderful.
Yes. That's great that you're doing that. I will say that my mom is actually more focused in connecting with more like animal totems.
Oh, okay. I was going to say that next. Yeah.
So she's doing, at this point, she's more doing that than like connecting with people's pets, though her pets have come at her readings. It's more like for instance, my main animal totem is a deer. And that is an animal spirit that, their presence is working with me and giving me strength. The deer represents gentleness. It represents, I think, purity. And I feel like I do, try to bring those qualities into my being. And so she's able to pick up on what animals are helping people. Does that make sense?
I know, absolutely. And some of my spirit animal totems have come through in our sessions together too.
Yeah, I sometimes connect with them too, but she's like really, really.
And I think that there are people, and I definitely resonate with animal totems. Like it's more the earth elements in the animal totems.
Yes.
And I think that's wonderful. And I think for some people that just shows up, more, maybe it's just more present for them. So, so that's so awesome. So I'm going to share the website because even somebody may resonate with, the animal totem piece of it too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
And so you and your mom also do music together. I know when I first met you, okay, this is how long I've known you. There were CDs. I don't even know if you do. So I have a meditation CD of yours. There was beautiful singing, by the way. I think you do piano. What kind of music do you do? All kinds of music you and your mom do together.
Yes. So my mom she was a professional singer. And so all of us, and my dad is a professional guitar player. So between the two of them, we really grew up doing a lot of music, my siblings and I. And so, yes, I sing and I do play piano and I play guitar and I like to dabble in a little bit of djembe.
Oh, fun. Why not, right?
I'm playing quite a lot. So that's kind of a joke in my family that I'm this djembe player, even though I've studied other instruments way more. But yes, we in terms of incorporating singing into our spiritual work, my mom and I do sound healing sessions together.
Mm-hmm.
We only do that in person, but we'll do Reiki on someone and do sound healing at the same time with our voices. And then the CD you have is Angel Sanctuary, which is my mom, my sister, and I all singing together and doing that healing toning together. And that's actually something we've done together since my sister and I were really young. We would do that with my mom. We would just all sit together and meditate a little bit, and we just spontaneously sing anything that was coming into our hearts,
Yeah.
all together. And we would call that, my sister called it angel singing.
Yeah.
She
I
thought it
love
sounded
that.
like angels. And so that's what we've called it since then.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So what I really want to invite the listeners to sort of recognize is that this, all of these rituals, this has been your way of life. This has been your way of being for as long as you can remember.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And it's not for all of us. Maybe at some point in time, like for me, at some point in my life, I chose to create rituals, but this wasn't like my being from the time I was born. I've sort of had many, many transformations to get to where I am now.
Mm-hmm.
You are really grounded in this way of being, this that has been such a foundation throughout your whole life. It's part of your family. It's almost like you knew you were born to do this, and you're just doing this work. And so for me, what that you're so grounded in it, it helps me to see that is why the space that you hold when I'm in session with you seems so grounded and safe and expansive. And I want to invite you to just share a little bit for the listeners, like what are you doing when you come in session with somebody and I know you're doing whatever you're guided to do, but like, what are some of the experiences? And then maybe we move into, because your website is called Spirit Guidance Healing.
Spirit guidance and healing, yes.
And healing. So what I really want to, have the listeners take away from this is that sometimes in our human experience that we're having, there might be times where we feel unsupported. We might feel, exhausted, overwhelmed. We might feel like there's nobody that understands us. We might feel understood. But that's because maybe we're looking for all of that support in our external material world. Mm-hmm. And there's always this place where we can come, mm-hmm. where we can seek the guidance and support within, like within our own spirit. And if we're new to that, or we're not sure, someone like you can help to open up the space to sort of that inner guidance and that healing that connects us to beyond this material external world. Mm-hmm. So for the listeners, I kind of want to paint the picture that sometimes we're just looking for answers and support in what we've been taught or what we know. And those, by the way, those things are wonderful, and they also serve a purpose, right? Like sometimes we need things externally, but sometimes there's something deeper, or we're looking for a little bit more support. And what I want to share is that we are always supported
yes,
by divine guidance, our spirit team, and guardian angels, whatever that looks like for you, for the listeners. Mm-hmm. We are always supported by them. So I want to invite you just to kind of share what after you do your preparation for the session, what is this? Yeah, what happens next? Typically, I mean, it's always different, but
but there's definitely a general process that unfolds. So after I've done my preparation, the first thing that I will start to do is to start to invite any beings of love and light that are currently assisting the person that I'm doing the reading for. I'll call them the reading recipient, just for ease. I always call in those presences to join me, and I will take a moment within myself to just thank them for coming in, and to really make those spirits feel welcome in being with me and doing this communication. So as I'm starting to pick up on the beings that are around, and I might pick up on them through feeling them, I may see them, I might just know that they're there. So as they're starting to gather around, I will begin to tell the reading recipient what I am receiving in terms of who I feel around. So I will basically introduce the crew first. And that the spirits, the type of spirits that I typically will connect with are, well, first, probably the first I'll mention are people's spirit loved ones. So I'll define a spirit loved one as being a spirit that is someone that my client once knew, who is now on the other side. So that could be a family member, that could be a friend, a mentor, or so on. And the purpose of those beings come in is basically to reunite with my client. And so I'll connect with their spirit loved ones. I'll connect with spirit guides, which are other beings on the other side that are assisting us in our life's journey, even though they may not be someone that we've ever met in this life. It's also possible to connect with spirit animals, like we were discussing previously, master teachers, which are very evolved spirits. So it could be a whole potpourri of different beings that come in. And also, I would say maybe in the past 6 or 7 years of doing this, I've started connecting with people's higher selves as well. So your higher self, I know you know this, but for the listeners, your higher self is an aspect of you, an aspect of your own being that still remains on the other side, even while you are here on Earth. So this can be a very new idea to some of us, but basically how I understand it is our spirits are so expansive that we are able to exist in more than one dimension at a time. So we can be in the higher dimensions and the lower dimensions. Yes. And so it can be very helpful to connect with the part of yourself that's in the higher dimensions to receive their perspective. So that is what the higher self is. So there's more beings that we can connect with as well, but those are some of the ones coming to mind. So after I have determined who's there, I will see what messages that they have to give to the reading recipient on this particular day. Are you laughing, Jen?
No, I'm just so happy. I'm not laughing. I'm just like, I'm sort of recalling like our last, as you're speaking, I'm just like so in alignment with what you're saying. I'm sort of like, I'm having my own visions as you're speaking of,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, I just absolutely adore you. So yeah, keep sharing. You're doing such a wonderful job of just sharing. And I want to just say I got really excited about the higher self part because, to me, like higher self is like the God within us. It's like our divine source, like that divine connection that is, again, just unconditional love. And so I was smiling because when I started out introducing you, that was one of the things that I've always felt with you is that connection, that space of unconditional love. But that higher self is like, oh man, it's like, it's just that place where we are just like, we're not afraid. Like there's no fear, there's no sadness, there's no pain, there's no, in my experience anyway. And we all have access to this. Like we all have access to this. And so
absolutely.
as you shared, and, you know, this whole podcast is about like becoming that vibrational match to that higher expression of yourself. And it includes taking care of the physical body. It includes doing your own inner work and healing emotional trauma. It includes your mindset. It includes connection with people, healthy relationships. It includes your way of life. What I want to say is, you don't have to be a healer. Well, many people are healers and they don't know it in their own family, but you don't have to be like you don't have to be a medium. You don't have to live this way of life and to have this connection to source. It's always there for us. It's a practice of connecting with it. And so what I want to share with the listeners is that if this is new to you, it is so helpful to be in the space where someone is holding that space for you and bringing your higher self in. And because once you have that experience, it's almost like an inner knowing. It's almost like this inner knowing that was always there, but maybe sometimes we doubt or we're afraid to do it on our own, which is why it's, you know, one of the things that having a session with you did for me. It kind of opened up like, and I would see the vision, but it was like, I don't know, just kind of the embodying of it, right? Was you held the space for that. Mm-hmm. So that's what I was getting happy about, because
you were smiling about.
Yeah, because my moments of like, I love my higher self. I mean, she's amazing. And, you know, and I want to say too, like sometimes we can be in a female body and have a male higher self. So one of my daughters did for, you know, a time. So don't just, in spirit world, there is no like differentiation. It's all like love and energy.
Yes. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm glad that and this is exactly what happens in our readings, except now we're getting to have more time to talk from our human self to our human self.
Yeah.
But we just get more and more excited.
Me too. Every time we have a session together, I feel like my cheeks hurt from smiling so much. And I'm just like, because again, that space is created for that connection. And since then, over the last, 4.5 years, I've learned to call it in on my own, not as, but there's something about the frequency of two people coming together and creating that space together. Mm-hmm. And and that just goes to show like it can easily be done not in person, because there is no real time and space in the spirit world anyway. Mm-hmm. And so like there's just something really, as we're together right now, like there's something energetically powerful about being in that space with someone else and sort of like sharing that experience and being witnessed in it.
Yes.
So I
definitely agree with that. And I think there's something to like, just, anytime you take the time to actually consciously sit down and connect.
Yeah.
Whether that be by yourself or be with someone else, I think it's very important. And I think what you just said is something I'd like to expand upon a bit, in terms of how you were starting to say that you have felt more of a connection with your guides since our first reading. And that is something that many of my clients have told me, that sometimes after just one reading, they find that they are able to connect with their loved ones, connect with their guides, connect with their higher self in their own timing. And I've even had some spirits in the readings that I do tell my client, yeah, it's fun to connect through Desiree, but you don't really need her. You can just talk to us on your own.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I feel so, anyway.
So what are some of the things that people will sort of come to you for if they're seeking support?
Oh, yes. So I would look at that people will generally come for two main reasons. The first reason I already began to touch on earlier is because they want a chance to reconnect with somebody who has passed on.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be literally any kind of relationship. I've done it this time. They work with their mom. They want to connect with their sister. They want to connect with their husband. Or it could be a child that they wish to connect with, that they lost, and they just want to have the chance to first of all know that spirit is okay, that they live on. And sometimes there's things that come up that were things that did not have quite a chance to be fully resolved on earth yet. And so through having that chance to reconnect, it can be tremendously healing for people. And as we were just saying, it does really help people to actually feel a greater connection with their loved ones in their own life. I'm thinking of one of my clients who she lost her husband a few years ago, and she's just gone on this incredible journey since then of really being with her grief, really, really being very authentic and honest about her journey, but then sort of working with that grief and letting it have these new things blossom for her. And she like is constantly communicating with her husband who passed, and they write to each other. So she'll write to him, and then she will open to channel what he has to say to her, and they're actually in the process of writing a book together across the dimensions.
Oh my gosh, that is awesome.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. I just want to kind of there is so much healing that can be done in relationships, even when the people aren't physically here. And actually we can actually heal relationships when they are here, but we still can't can't find a way to physically communicate with them too. And I know this is a practice that I have where I do a higher self meditation and I call in the other person's higher self. And it has been like, if anything, so healing for me in my own experience, because every difficult situation is a sort of an opportunity to grow, right? So I've done this with several people in my life. Like sometimes we feel like we just can't say what we need to say, or it's not received and we don't know how to communicate, or maybe it's a coworker or whatever.
Yes.
But it's such a powerful way to heal energetically. And I know that you were I was thinking, just recalling back, March 21st, 2016 was when my brother-in-law fully transitioned, but there was 7 days where he was in a coma, and you were a part of that process. And I was just kind of recalling with joy, like some of the things that came up, because I think that there might be some people listening that are going to be a little skeptical, which is normal. I was too at first, but two things that were just so funny is like, there was this vision that you shared of him sort of like, I'm ready to go. And I'm in my like red convertible listening to, this is really funny, like AC/DC, like Highway to Hell, like as a joke, because he's such a jokester. And so we went on his computer, and wouldn't you know that the only album downloaded on his computer was AC/DC. I'm not even kidding you. This is like, he's like from Hawaii. Like we would listen to like Hawaiian reggae music, right? And we were dying laughing. We're like, oh, this is like such a typical jokester thing for him. Yeah. And then, we had this thing with like eagles eating snakes that would just happen repeatedly. And that happened to be the emblem on the Mexican flag, which is where he passed away, was in Mexico. And that would come through in the session, that he would send us messages through eagles. And actually it was my children that would see them repeatedly. And then, so I say this to just say, like, because I know that when you're in session, you don't remember everything that comes through because you're channeling.
Yes.
And there were just, I'm saying this just to share that, like, once you break through that barrier of wondering if this can possibly really be true, it's almost like you can just laugh at how actually that is the reality. And there are so many synchronicities that it's almost like unbelievable. It's almost like, how could that be? How could that even, but how could you know people's names? And how could you know, I say that because we go through this process, me being a client of you, where we come into it and we're like, oh yeah, maybe, maybe the first session is like, maybe. And then all of a sudden, like, something happens in our life. If we pay attention, we're like, oh shit, that's exactly what she said. Like, that's true. And then it happens again and again and again. And then at some point I just decided to not believe it anymore, and just be like, just surrender to the fact that this is the reality, and we have just chosen to shut ourselves off of it. And we still, as humans, live kind of in the flow, right? Between both. And I'm saying this just to say that, like, this is where we can actually, again, allow ourselves to be supported in this life experience by unconditional love. Unconditional love that is universal, that is energetic, that is expansive, that is holding the truth of who we are, waiting for us to just receive it. And that there's a choice that we can make in our life to believe in that. And, you are somebody who opens the space, and sometimes it's really nice to have that person to do that for you, who opens the space or the gateway to say, hey, if you want to know what it's like to be supported by this divine source and everything that's included in this, like, here's a space that is safe and you can step in and experience this.
Yeah, and I really feel that there is no requirement to have to believe in it when you enter a session. And
just the very choice that you decide to enter that session means, like, your higher self knows it's true already, right? So it's like the human self likes to sort of like question it and have all these, but there's that subconscious part of us, our energetic field, that, like, this has happened so many times. We make decisions, and then almost like years later, like, I went to Mary Magdalene's cave like 4 years ago, and like now it's pretty obvious I have like a thing with her. And like when I went, I didn't know what I was just like, oh, this is a beautiful cave. And then I was kind of like, whoa, there's something really magical here. And then I had this experience, but at the time I wasn't quite ready to fully receive it. Right. So I'm going to go back. But, and that was all thanks to my mother-in-law, who was like, let's go to this cave. And I'm like, really? Okay. I say that to say that, like, sometimes we have these experiences and we don't know how to, like, make sense of it until we're ready to receive it, which could be months or years later.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I just really like to look at it as, I just tell people to take from this whatever feels helpful to you, whatever resonates, and to just really, to really go back to your own self, what feels right to you. And as you said before, a lot of times what the spirits will bring up are things that we do already know on the deepest core of our being. It's just helpful to have that reflected. It's like looking in the mirror, I guess. Like, the spirits are like that mirror that are like, this is who you really are. And then you're like, oh, right, that is who I really am.
Yeah.
Which sort of brings, I'll just mentioned too, you had asked, what are the main reasons that people come? And I'll just share the second reason is basically about guidance. So I do readings for people who have not really known somebody particularly significant in their life that has passed. And so they're not as much there to connect with a certain loved one, but they just want to receive the perspectives that a spirit has to offer. And I have found that that they can share perspectives about pretty much every area of our life. They can share perspectives about our life path and purpose that our spirit actually chose before we even got to this earth. So that can be very helpful. They can share guidance about career. I do a lot of focus on relationships in my readings, not just in a romantic sense, but relationships within people's families, things like that. We've talked about past lives, and how those past lives might be affecting you in your current life. It's there's so many different avenues that the spirits might speak about.
Yeah, and I want to share that that's been most of my experience is coming to you for like spirit guidance, or I sort of see it as like divine guidance, and all of those things have come up for us. My relationships with my daughter in particular, and past lives around that, and my purpose and sort of what my soul chose to come here to do. And so that
okay, great. So we've done see
you don't
I don't know what we've talked about, but I'm glad that you have experienced those different.
Yep, all of those things have come up, and every time we have a session I write it down. And you actually do offer to record the sessions.
I do. Some people really love to have it recorded, and some just like to write it down.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, which I think is amazing to have both. And I can say on the receiving end of that, that yes, all of those things have come up. And again, as I'm just thinking back, like what I want to encourage people to notice, to kind of bring it back into the human experience, is after you have a session like this, I really want to invite people to like just become super aware of and present to what is unfolding and happening in your life. Because we can have a session, but if we just do the session and then we hope that, well, okay, I had a session with Desiree, hopefully she healed me. That's not what it is. That's the embodied healing self. What the session really is like, it's a step we choose to take, the gateway to sort of like that next part of our journey. And then we get to choose after the session to become aware of what is shifting for us. And the more that we become present and notice, the more things begin to shift. And the more that we begin to develop this relationship with our higher self, with our spirit guides, the more they become present, because they do. What I've noticed is that you do ask permission. You're, for them, you ask me permission, you ask them permission, just to keep the energy really clear and healthy boundaries, which I really appreciate. Because it's all in the interest of what is best for us at this time.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, thank you for sharing all of that with me today. I'm really excited for the listeners, and you do travel. Are you traveling anytime soon? Are you coming to Jacksonville? It's been a while.
I actually am. I was realizing that as I was talking to you, I actually am going to be passing through Jacksonville this year. I'm not going to be working there this year, some things, anyway, I can explain more about this after, but basically, yeah, there was some coordination things that it didn't end up happening for this year, but.
So where can the listeners find out about where you will be?
So on our website, we do share where we will be traveling to. So the next place I'm traveling to, for instance, in October, I'll be going to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, which is quite opposite than where you are. Like,
you're going to be cold, my dear.
It's actually still pretty nice up there in October.
Yeah.
And that's when it's starting to transition. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. But yeah, so you could find out on the website. Also on the website, there's a way to join our mailing list where we also share where we're going. And yes, and then I do work on the phone too, as you've talked about, because it really doesn't make too much of a difference.
No, it doesn't.
To meet in person or on the phone. It's nice to meet in person.
Yeah.
I like being able to give people a hug at the end.
Yeah.
That's the fun part. But as far as the spiritual connection, it's very, very similar, whether we're in the same space or not.
Yeah. And I've had both. And I will say that I will agree to that yes, both are very powerful and amazing. So, yeah. So thank you for sharing all of that. I'm just curious, how do you choose where you will go when you travel? Is it something you're sort of guided to, or like, how does that come up?
So yes, we definitely do. I honestly think what ends up happening is that there's been these certain areas of the country where a lot of people have shared about our work with people around them, and then there's sort of a lot of people in one particular geographical location, and then a lot of times we'll go to those areas, so that way we know that there will be people there that want to learn in our workshops, that want to have readings, and we'll go to the places where we have sort of like a density of people in a particular location. And Jacksonville is one of those places, actually, that we've had the opportunity to connect with a lot of people in that particular region.
Yeah.
Through basically those people sharing with their friends and family. And then sometimes we'll end up having a new place open up through something like what happened in our situation, that you talked, to your mother-in-law, and then we had the chance to meet that way. So there's just been these, we sort of follow what seems to be opening up at the time.
Yeah, I love that, which is also another nice little message to receive, is just allowing yourself to be guided. Like we, just in general in life, like we think we know what we're going to do. And then, really, like God and the universe, they have their, and your soul has its kind of, plan for you. And then we have ours, and guess which one gets done? I mean, I'm a former, like, recovering planner, overachiever, perfectionist, like military, like I was just, it's still a practice for me, but so every time I hear that message, like I'm still practicing it. I'm still practicing like that, getting that 10 to-do list down to like, maybe I shouldn't even do a to-do list anymore. I'm down to like 2, but I'm thinking, I just heard like, just get rid of the to-do list. Maybe that's my next step. I don't know. What would that be like? That would be like,
that would be cool.
Hallelujah.
Whoa.
I know. Hey, maybe that's the next thing. Maybe that'll be my next podcast. Well, Desiree, thank you so much for sharing this time and allowing me to share you with my listeners. I feel so honored to get to share all these beautiful people that have been a part of my journey, because my journey, my inward journey that's been happening for like 6 years, most people don't know the things that I've been doing. And on this podcast has been a way for me to share. I've had many healers and many mentors that have been a part of this journey that have gotten me to where I am. People see where I was and where I am, but they don't know all the things that I did to get there. So really so happy to share that you've been a part of that journey in more than one way. And the healing of losing a loved one and just in spiritual guidance. And you've been a really big part of my transformation and choosing to shift the work that I do in the world that I was actually meant to do. And I'm just so grateful for that. So I will be sharing all of your information in the show notes where people can find you, and just really want to say thank you for being
here. You are so welcome, and thank you so much for bringing me in. I just love having the chance to talk about all these things, and especially to let people know that we all are capable of communicating with spirit when we take the time to learn. So I'm grateful for any opportunity to get to share and to have this amazing conversation with you today.
Yeah.
You're a bright light in the world, Jen.
Oh, thank you. So are you. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome.